What up, world? A2HH live on a Monday. We're surprising everybody. Hopefully, everybody's able to get in the room. We're gonna give people some time to get in the room. Coop, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. Happy King holiday.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Happy.
Want to celebrate the King, and my thing is on this day, I would urge people to go out there and do their own research on the man, and not just rely on what mainstream media has given you an image of the man all these years. So that's my 2 cents on it. That's what I've been doing today, just kind of looking up some obscure, I don't even want to say obscure, but just less noted um, speeches of his and listening to him. Incredible speaker. I think people don't really view King in this way, but he was a young man.
Yeah,
I think because he was so mature and spoke from such a poetic standpoint. And he looked a little older too, obviously, stress, whatever. Went through a lot. You would think this man was in his 40s, possibly early 50s. He was 39 years old. He was a young man.
I was about to say,
It's
first of all, him
crazy.
and Brother Malcolm both look older than their years. That's the wear and tear that comes from leading the types of movements and being under the type of duress from within their own and from exterior forces. Um, Quick note, Mike, since you talk about like a lot of things that people don't know about him, I want people to always remember that he wasn't just an agent of change in this community, but an agent of change when he was assassinated, Mike. He wasn't there for civil rights. He was there for labor.
Uh huh. We don't.
He
I
was
mean,
there
people don't
for
talk about that. Again,
yeah.
and I would go further and tell people, and I would urge people to research Dr. King's life from 66, 67, 68. And obviously you want to do the whole totality, but I think that there's a narrative and they pick a certain point in people's lives sometimes to document and highlight and push forth in the mainstream media, McDonald's or whoever, and I don't want to mess up any of our channel sponsors, but whatever. Do your own research on Dr. King. Happy King Day. We got Harry H in here said on a Monday. Salute, fellas. Yes, I know it's a holiday for many people. Coop came up with the idea like, look, let's go live, man. Show some appreciation to the fact that we done hit 5,000 subscribers. And shit, we got a few things to talk about. So,
Got a little bit to talk about.
a couple things to talk about, man. First, do you want to start with the Ti thing? I
We
want to.
can't.
I
Hey,
want
but
to
real
start
quick
with the
too.
Ti
Hey,
thing.
but real quick too. To finish this thought about Dr. King, like let's also say this too, and remember this. And I say
Mhm.
this also time when I talk about prophets in the Bible too. Well, he was more like me and you too. Like let's not over edify him to the point that you feel like he was somebody you couldn't talk to or speak to because he was.
Yeah,
He was cool.
yeah.
Yeah, he was cool. Yeah.
And I say this all the time, man. And I think people like him prove that you don't have to run for any type of office and be elected to any type of office to push and cause change. I feel like, in my personal opinion, on a global scale, he's initiated more change for black people than any black politician that has ever been elected to anything.
Period. Yeah, it's not even.
Period. And it's not even close. And
It's not even.
honestly it's a shame.
Well, I mean, no, I mean, you can make some arguments for maybe Thurgood Marshall, possibly, Mike. You know what I mean? Thurgood Marshall
Possibly,
came
but
up with.
I don't think that, I
Yeah,
mean, to
but no, no, no. I
compared
mean,
to
I'm just
Dr.
talking
King.
about people in the wheelhouse. W.E.B. Du Bois.
Yeah.
Yeah, there,
And I
there are
will give
people that.
certain, people in individual cities the props where props is needed. People like Maynard Jackson in Atlanta. He
Yeah,
really flipped the black economy in Atlanta with decisions that he made as a mayor. I mean, Atlanta's not Atlanta for black people just by some mystic force. It was actually a person in there that made that happen. So, but yeah, and also Marion Barry, even though he had his issues, he did his thing in D.C. for black people. You know what I mean? And again, it's another city that's looked at as a economic thriving point for black people.
all
So
good things. All good
yes,
things.
definitely. Let's start with Ti. People in
Okay.
the room are saying we got to start with Ti.
Okay.
All right, so Ti goes on a live yesterday and says that nobody is messing with him when it comes to making his music. He also kind of alluded to the fact that he's going to be on, he's not really concentrated on music like that. And you know what? I give Ti the credit. He's put in work enough where he could say that, he's not going hard on music right now. I think you and I have expressed on this show how great of a catalog we feel like T.I. has amassed over his career in hip hop. But the names that he mentioned is what kind of takes people aback when he said that you're going to have to pull up Nas, Jay, I think he said Ye, I think he said Wayne. Pusha T was named as well, which I think is great.
I thought that was dope.
I think that's dope too. But the thing that's funny to me in a way is the fact that people are laughing this off, and obviously it's kind of a generation that wasn't there, and maybe a generation that was slightly before there. But it kind of lets you know what people think of T.I. Now, let me say this before I ask your opinion. He can't say all these things and seemingly duck Busta Rhymes in the verses. I felt like, and I said this on the show, I think even with the generational differences, T.I. could actually have beaten Busta in a verses, or at least seem like he beat him to his generation. Let me put it that way. Because I think the problem with a versus with somebody like a Busta and a T.I. is the fact that the people who grew up on T.I. is going to think that he won. People that grew up on Busta is going to think that he won. That's why I don't want to see the Jay and Wayne one too, because I think it's going to be the same thing. Where it's like people who grew up in the 90s or in Jay's core era, they could be like, Jay won. People who grew up in the Wayne era is going to say Wayne won. But I do think that if Busta put the challenge out there and T.I. feels this strongly about his catalog, as he should have accepted that. Shout out to Xavier Logistics with the super chat of $10. He said research fund. Appreciate that, sir. We do a whole lot of research on this show.
yeah. Shout out to Xavier. Xavier jumped in the comments of the previous show. I just replied to him. He's been showing us some love, so shout out to Xavier. I replied back to your comment too, brother.
There it is. All right. Now, what's your opinion on this T.I. thing, man?
I've stated this before. I think he's the most versatile MC to ever come out of the South, out of this region. Mm-hmm. I think that's validated. I think, people who make tracks start off making tracks like Dope Boy Fresh don't usually end up on Blurred Lines with Robin Thicke. And that's what I mean about the versatility. He's greater. I don't think maybe history was remembering him properly, but let me tell you why.
I was going to ask why.
Mike, some of this is self-inflicted wounds, because in the midst of his run where he was ascending to these heights, Mike, he got himself mired in legal troubles and lost big endorsement deals and lost a lot of that stature because, Mike, the material is there. The charisma is there. The personality and persona is there. The ability to transcend into other things like TV is there. So he has it all, Mike. So the only thing that really happened was the legal troubles happened. And it's not that they happened, Mike. They happened at the point that he was becoming a megastar.
Multiple times.
Yeah, Mike, on two separate occasions. Mm-hmm. So it's like that's what really hurts him is that he really doesn't get remembered properly because time got taken away from him at his two greatest heights, quite frankly.
Pivotal points, because the first time it happened to him, this is where the whole little flip thing started. And again, I don't want to get into the particulars because everybody has their individual stories, but I will say this, man. I was in radio in Atlanta at that time when all of this was happening, and T.I. was running the city, at least in Atlanta, right? And it seems to me as a fan, from a fan's perspective, that Lil Flip was out here. I mean, people can say what they want about Flip, but Flip was hot. And it feels like an emerging T.I. who wasn't mainstream or crossover even at that point. He was still kind of local for Atlanta. He wanted that spot. And while Flip was out there riding high and had a big hit with Game Over and all of that, T.I. gets locked up. So a lot of the opportunities that T.I. was supposed to have, from what I'm understanding, like the cover of the what was that? Was it XXL or Source or whoever was doing that Next Generation cover at the time? Because, a lot of people have done that. He was supposed to have a certain spot. Flip got it, whatever, or they saw each other. They both. Anyway, regardless, look, not Summer Jam, Birthday Bash in Atlanta, which is like Atlanta's version of Summer Jam.
Right.
Flip was there, and obviously, people know the infamous story where it's like T.I.'s coming out of jail. He was a surprise closer or whatever, and that's what he called Flip out. And I've always felt like, again, that was that first point where, if not for those legal troubles, T.I. he was on a course of getting to a certain point, and like you said, that kind of put a halt to that. And then when you think about that halt, it never stopped him musically, right? He kept pushing and all of that, but these corporations and the other people that do business, they're willing to put their money into people that they know don't have those kind of restrictions and that won't possibly be in those type of situations. So I think, yeah, you're right. That's one of those things that handicapped him that first time. He got past that and he moved forward, elevated even more, and then it happened again. And that's the one you're talking about that was the most detrimental, because at this point he had artists, he had a roster. And, he had Meek Mill first.
Mike, he had an endorsement from Chevrolet because of the song Top Back. He was doing commercials with Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I say this all the time too, man. When you look at Wayne and the artists that came under him, Drake and Nicki alone, he should be one of the more powerful moguls in this industry. But when we start looking at people that came up through T.I., from Travis Scott, Meek Mill, he had B.O.B., incredible talent, right? And he had Iggy Azalea on his roster too. Regardless of how you feel about her music, you got those 4 people on your roster. I mean, he should have had a powerhouse. You give Rick Ross those 4 artists and see what happens.
Mike, and let's not sleep on Dro, man. Dro is nice.
I love Dro. I think Dro is dope. I'm not even counting that because, I think Dro is like...
more for Atlanta.
And also, Dro has also expressed the fact that a lot of his shortcomings was just because of certain work that he didn't put in. So I think him, you know what I mean? Like, that is what it is. I think, Dro's ready to go whenever Dro's ready to go. But as far as, like, Iggy Azalea, Travis, Meek, and B.O.B., the industry was behind these people.
Yeah, well, hey, Mike, but even when you say that, Mike, I remember when B.O.B. was performing at the Hole in the Wall spots locally around here, and I know you do too. Yeah. I remember when he was the headliner of the local spots around here. Yeah.
Well, who made Bruno Mars famous first? When was Bruno Mars's first big look? It's B.O.B. B.O.B. made some very crossover records, not to mention the song with Old Girl from Perrymore.
Mike, remember the record that got him on? It was like this really funky, like weed smokers anthem that he had locally that was out.
Yeah.
I forget the name. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. But yeah, not to go off on a tangent or anything, but that just lets you know where T.I.'s place was in this game. And like you said, he's very versatile. And he honestly had the game in his hands. At one point, it was T.I. Wayne. We talked T.I. Wayne or whatever. And in my personal opinion, I think that on a solo level, I think that T.I. had the better catalog. Now, if you count everything that Wayne's been involved in, it's just so much stuff. But on a quality level, we talk about that run from trap music to Urban Legend to King. You look at Paper Trail. I'm not a huge fan of I'm Serious, but a lot of people love that record. So if you want to throw that in there too, it's like T.I. has a very, very good catalog. Not to mention, one of my favorite Gangsta Grills, Down with the King. Honestly, he made Gangsta Grills happen. He doesn't get credit for that either.
I was actually about to say, Mike, I didn't even know what Gangsta Grills was before Tip.
And honestly, I know a lot of people are hip to Gangsta Grills because of the Wayne dedication, or maybe the Jeezy, whatever. But he hooked Wayne and Drama up for that purpose.
So Mike.
So his place in the game, he has a right to feel the way he's feeling. It's just the problem that I'm not understanding why. Well, I guess I kind of understand, but why do you think, more so than just the legal troubles, why the public doesn't recognize these things?
I don't know, Mike, because it can't be for quality of music. Let's go to I'm Serious. I'm Serious is probably his 5th or 6th best album. when you have a fifth or sixth best album like that, you're usually pretty iconic. You know, like think about what I'm saying. I'm serious. I'm serious is that on its best day to me, his fifth best album.
I'm gonna
On
be
its
honest, man. I've never liked I'm Serious, and I've been in so many arguments with people in the city for that. I got a quick story. Quick story, right? Now I went to Pebblebrook High School, West Side, whatever, and my senior year, one of
like
my classmates.
I'm about to
Huh?
say, didn't you go to school with some of PSC?
I did. I
Yeah.
went to school with Ti's god sister though. And
Mhm.
anyway, long story short, we were over at her house one time, and her mom gave us that Ti snippet CD for like I'm Serious. They used to do snippet CDs back then for like people who were on majors. He was on Arista. DJ Mars was like the host on the snippet CD. Shout out to DJ Mars, good dude. And so it actually starts off with Dope Boys in the Trap, funny enough. Either that or Still Ain't Forgave Myself. But they give you like snippets of each song. The last song was the song I'm Serious. And it was like the whole song or whatever. But yeah, her mom was like, he about to blow up, yada yada. I didn't like the joint, man. I mean, I liked a couple of songs on it, but again, I was a hard ass at that point. I was on my Black Star shit, so it was like I was like, he could rap, but I think what was throwing me off too was the having a song featuring God, Jesus, and Jay Z or whatever, produced by God featuring Jay Z.
God
Yeah.
featuring Jay Z.
Yeah. I was like, he cool, he nice, and then the whole King of the South thing threw me off too as a big Outkast fan. But when he flipped his whole style and did trap music, I think that was that sophomore effort where he was becoming the artist. And we're about to talk about another person's sophomore effort too, and other sophomore efforts. But I think that's when he became the artist that he became, and it was undeniable when trap music hit. I think I heard the song "In the A," which ain't on none of his, mainstream albums or, studio albums, I guess you would say. It's on a mixtape, but I remember hearing that on the radio, and I was like, "Yo, this is the first Ti song I really, really like." And he changed his whole style up. And I always tell people who argue me down about I'm Serious, he doesn't perform any of those songs at any of his shows. And he hasn't since he dropped trap music.
Well, Mike, most of that is because, I mean, pretty much from trap music, I mean, to the legal troubles he didn't miss. I'm Serious is how about this, Mike? You see him flash on that record at times where it's like where you maybe don't like the King of the South comments or the God featuring Jay-Z comments, but you can hear some traces of why that confidence is validated.
Oh yeah, no, I love the confidence. I love the
Mike,
confidence.
then he went out and validated it.
He did.
Like right after that album. Like
So
boom, 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 boom,
admirable.
boom.
He didn't validate it in the moment, but eventually he did, and that's where the utmost respect.
Not in the moment, Mike, but immediately after. Like he
Yep.
immediately went back in and captured the moment and the feeling and didn't let it go till he got into legal trouble. So Mike, when he's talking the way that he's talking, like he's some sort of icon and some sort of legend, like that's
He
because
is.
he is.
He is. The most impressive thing, and I'm not shitting on I'm Serious. I'm just saying, like, for me, maybe because I saw the artist that he actually became, it wasn't him. And the fact that he was able to flip his style so drastically from I'm Serious, and the fact that he made an album that people actually liked too, and then flipped it and then made trap music, slowed his flow down. Because, I'm Serious, like, his flow was all over the place.
Yeah, he's all over.
He was concise on trap music, and he became the T.I. that is. And I think that if we talk about, again, I bring up a live show, he's doing a set list, people wouldn't even recognize the MC that he was on I'm Serious. That's just like if Common went out there and tried to do something from Can I Borrow a Dollar. People don't recognize that MC. And that's amazing for somebody to be able to do that. And I gotta give kudos to that. And I'm just trying to, because you hear people say Luda will beat him, and I do think Luda and T.I. would be a great matchup in the verses.
I don't.
You don't? Why not?
What T.I. over Luda? I mean, you think people think Luda would beat Ti?
Well, I mean, I hear people saying that, like, they're saying that Ti can't even get with Luda, and we're gonna get to that other part of what he said too. He said something about an MC's never been on a record with him and blown him out on a record.
Now let's address that part because you want to know what I found that to be fascinating. Like, and here's what I mean about he's a legend and he's an icon. He's been gotten, but really only one time that I can recall for an MC of his stature. I find that to be staggering. But I also have a question mark by one that I know other people would argue about too, Mike. But I think he's only been gotten on record maybe 3 times at the most. Only one time for certain that I got written down right here.
You're probably going to say Andre 3000's to certain.
Huh?
Andre 3000's to certain for you?
No. I'm saying, like, I can't think of any other. What do you mean? Say that again.
I'm sorry. You said he's been gotten one time on a record for certain. Is that the Andre 3000 Sorry song?
Oh, I mean, not even necessarily that for me. You think he got him like that on that song? That was one of the question marks.
Yeah. I mean, again, I didn't love the song anyway, but I mean, yeah, Drake has
I didn't
the better
really
verse.
love the song.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of songs written down, Mike, and here's the record that I have that I know he got on.
What's that?
And he got twice, Mike, and he got twice by guys that are greater than him. And there aren't too many guys greater than Mike. Grand finale on Lil Jon's album, Mike, Nas and Ice Cube got him.
Okay.
Nas and Ice Cube got him on Grand Finale.
No shame in that.
Look, there is no shame in that, man.
Yeah.
Like I just said, Nas and Ice Cube. So that's top 10. You just lost it. You know what I mean? You just got faded by two of the 10 greatest.
Hold on, I want to address something real quick. People say stuff in the chat. This one popped up to me. Jay Short says, T.I. can't carry a song without a feature. Have you heard What You Know? Have you heard You Don't Know Me? Have you heard 20 Foes? And
Mike, have you heard trap music? Mike, have you heard trap music?
Yeah, it's really nobody on there. Like, what are we talking about here?
There's nobody on trap music, really, Mike.
There's nobody on there. Like, I mean, you talking about hooks? Because he even does that. I mean, you got Jazzy Faye or whoever on Let's Get Away, maybe. But no, I mean, again, I think that his shortcomings definitely aren't those things. I think that his shortcomings might be if people are punchline MC fans, he's not a punchline guy, but I like that about him. And it's probably why I didn't really love Paper Trail that much, because he was trying to do some of that because Wayne was hot at the time. But anyway, let me go back and to what you were saying, though. What's the other song?
Well, I have question marks by a few songs. You already named one of them, Mike. Here are the other 2 songs that I have, and I don't think that he got faded on either one of these songs, Mike. I told you I thought he had the best verse on Swagger Like Us, but if you told me one of the other guys had a better verse because that was your guy, I wouldn't argue with you. I think
he had the best verse on Swagger Like Us because I think he tried the most. I mean, it was one of those big crit, 6 Train moments.
Well, Mike, I mean, no, Mike, but that's Jay towards the end of his prime, and that's Ye and Wayne in their prime. So that's monumental achievement type stuff. Like that stuff that legends do, not like average MCs do, but that like legendary MCs do. Mike, the other one I had, Mike, and this is a personal favorite of you and mine, Mike, Twist On Look at the Grills is right there with him.
Nah. You know what? Again, man, this is what I will give. This is what I give T.I. props on. This is what I give T.I. props on. He notices the moment. He'll get on a song, and for y'all out there who might not have heard this song because it didn't get a lot of pub, but the song, but Big Boy's song in the A with Luda and T.I., he notices the moment. The song, even Tambourine on Big Boy's record, he notices the moment.
Mike, I didn't bring those records up because he won.
Again, look at the grill. He went crazy. Even if you talk about song with 8 Ball MJG on trap music, you know what I'm talking about. It'll come to me in a minute because look at the grills in my head. But he went.
I'm about to say, Mike, look at the grills is in my head. That might be my favorite T.I. verse, Mike.
One of them, front back. He knows the moment. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the utmost respect when you know you got certain people on the record and you do your thing. You know, and
No.
for the people who used to
No,
watch
that's what I
Uncut
mean.
back in the day, we used to love that Lax and Priestess. He got on you remember Lax and Priestess? These guys from Alabama, forgive me, I don't know their name off the top, but they were from it wasn't Montgomery. I think they were from Huntsville. They were somewhere in Alabama. It might have been Birmingham. I'm naming all the cities in Alabama. Anyway, they had an uncut video. T.I. was bubbling. He came through and laced them on Lax and Priestess. That verse was crazy.
No, Mike, I don't think you understand. It's just like so many great MCs have been faded. You know what I mean? Like Ye has faded Jay on records a few times on one album. You get what I'm saying? I was going through this man's career and wasn't catching him get faded. Ross faded Nas on Accident Murders. Like murdered him on
don't say
Accident
stuff
Murders.
like that. Bezel is the song that I'm thinking about.
Mike, what? Have you heard Accident Murders? Ross killed that verse, Mike.
Yeah. I need to go back and listen to it again.
You need to listen to that.
But yeah.
I was on that. He's just like, I was like, Ross on fire. He don't want no parts of that.
And I know you don't really love that Game album that I love so much, Blood Moon. But that song, really, T.I. went nuts on there.
I don't love that record, but I get what you're saying. He did go nuts on there.
Game went nuts on there too.
I don't love the songs on there. I just don't. But I hear you though.
But yeah, again, he notices the moment. And you could tell that as an MC, he's competitive. There's one guy that I think might have outdid him on the track, but this guy's an anomaly. And it's like, I don't think that it's not even about skill sometimes. Like his presence could just get you on the track. And I think it's 2 Chainz when he got on that Travis Scott song, Upper Echelon. But see, 2 Chainz is just a showstopper like that, man. Like
he can do that to a lot of
people.
He
can do that to listen, I'm gonna keep it real. He could do that to Jay or maybe Nas. It won't even be about skill. It'll just be about just catchy punchlines. And he is.
Stealer, Mike.
Yeah. So if somebody said 2 Chainz got him on there or whatever, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, listen, people talk about Luda and his verse on Stomp. And when he came at T.I., I still think T.I. has the better verse. That's just my opinion.
He didn't have the upper hand. He didn't have the upper hand. He didn't. Still came out the better verse.
He got the best line on the whole song. People can say whatever they want. That me getting beat down, that's ludicrous. That shit was crazy. Nigga, all you getting Rodney Dangerfield. No respect. I'm a vet. You could bet that. I caught some cases, but that's just a minor setback. Man, that flow, man, is nuts.
No. Yeah. That was a moment.
Real niggas see the difference between you and this. Me getting beat down, that's ludicrous. See, somebody just mentioned Stomp. Nah, man.
You're going to be hard pressed to find an MC of his caliber that seizes moments like he does. Mm-hmm. So that's why I keep saying, no, when he's talking, people should listen. You talking to somebody that ain't been faded on wax too often, has got classics under his belt, has got a nice upper echelon catalog, his rhyme next to literally all the greats that are mostly like living and been in his stratosphere around at the time. Like there aren't too many things that you can say about him. And so when he's speaking, like it needs to be taken with more validity and seriousness than it is. And I hate to say this, Mike, it's almost like, how about this? What makes him great as an MC is also starting to maybe be a detraction as a personality and maybe the seriousness, because I mean, T.I.'s an intelligent dude and has a wonderful vocabulary. Mm-hmm. But because of how he enunciates his words, people look at it in a joking manner because he doesn't mind joking about it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But he's a highly articulate dude, and sometimes I think some of this isn't being taken seriously because of some of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I would piggyback on that. I think that social media has given people a lot more access to a person like him, and I think he has put himself out there so much to a point where people have developed their own opinions about the person, and it has affected the music.
Right.
I think that's more so what it is, because again, with Wayne, we don't get none of that. Wayne don't give you any access to his inside world like that. So all you have is the music. It's one of those things like, I remember when Janelle Monáe first came out. I'm going to bring her up again, but she used to wear that uniform and all that stuff. And she said that she did that. She had a whole bunch of reasons for it, but I thought the one that was the most that brought forth the best point. She wanted people to focus on the music and not be distracted by anything else. So my image and all that stuff is just uniform. It's
It's
what it is.
very
Focus on
Rhythm
the
Nation
music.
like.
Huh?
It's very Rhythm Nation like.
It is. It's like she's like a janitor has their uniform. This is my uniform. I want people to focus on the music and not what I got on today or what I'm saying or whatever. And I think that T.I. has given us so much other stuff outside of his music to focus on, and it's overshadowed what he's done in his
Right.
career, and that's unfortunate
So
because
much.
I will give him credit too, and I probably have said this on the show or offline. He changed the whole Atlanta dynamic when he came out with trap music. People were yelling and screaming on stage. You go to these open mics, people were yelling like, Pastor Troy or Lil Jon, whatever. He made upcoming rappers in Atlanta at the time slow their flow down and start rapping and actually start saying words outside of chants. He changed the whole climate, and he did it at a time where it wasn't really cool to do that. That's why you heard him on Never Scared. He had to get on these records and show people how to be able to actually rap on these records. And Bun B was doing that at the time too, but that's from a whole different sphere, and we already knew Bun B's history.
Right. So when you say all those things, you made a very astute observation. Well, because he's allowed us into his life and the different aspects of his life so much, Mike, we're conveniently forgetting that it's like, no, this dude made trap music and Paper Trail and Urban Legend and King and that Gangsta Grills mixtape and blazed countless verses with countless other people. Did look at the grills, like did grand finale. So it's like some of that is getting lost. So I believe we're here to serve reminders for stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, reality television does it. Unfortunately, I understand why he had to do the reality television show. I think it was a great idea. I love the sentiment behind it. But again, it alludes, and we don't know these things. We're just looking at this from a fan's perspective, but it alludes back to those legal troubles you were talking about, right? How do I clean up my image? Let's show me in my family. You know what I'm saying? And it worked, but the catch-22 to that is you're bringing everybody into your life, and there's no more mystery to you as an artist because people see you on TV every week and feel like they know you for something else.
Well, no, Mike. Let's get into what the legal troubles really did. It kept him from bossing up all the way in a manner so that at a latter stage of his career, he wouldn't have to do like a reality TV show to clean up his image or to make money. So when you're seeing him on TV now, that's what I'm talking about. His career got hurt because, Mike, he was moving in a manner where that TV show wasn't going to happen because his endorsements and his branding were going to be so big that he wasn't even going to be looking at the TV money. Mike,
Great 88.
And he had an endorsement deal with Chevrolet, Mike.
Yeah. He was a big...
Our federal government bails out a company like that when it's failing. That's like infinite bread.
Great 88 said something I want to address. He said, don't overlook what Luda did for ATL. Lyrically, quality albums, great videos, 3 straight platinum albums. This is what I'll say about Luda. I think that Luda, at the time that he blew up, he gave... Listen, I don't know if everybody knows this. I guess I feel like this is common knowledge. Luda's a radio legend in Atlanta off top. You know what I'm saying? Chris Love and Poon Daddy are radio legends, or Hot 97.5 off top.
Might be top 5, Mike. You might be a top 5 radio host ever down here.
In my personal opinion, hey, listen, I love Greg Street, and Greg Street's done a lot for the city. But when I was a youngster and those two shows were on at the same time, I was going to Chris and Poon. And, and when Luda made it, and when he put out Incognito, we went out there and supported that. And when he made it and saw What's Your Fantasy on the box and found out he signed the Def Jam South, we all felt like we made it. He lived a couple doors down from my homeboy's older brother on Creel Road. And so what Luda did for the city was big in the sense where it showed people that, yes, you can make it. But if you talk about that local bubbling, it didn't feel like what that T.I. and Jeezy thing felt like because he was out of here. I think the rest of the world saw it and how successful he was and knew he was from Atlanta. But, it was different.
Let's just call it what it is, Mike. Tip and Jeezy was in the streets.
Yeah.
And so it resonated in the streets different, and it
2
carried
Chainz too. When 2 Chainz had his run, yeah.
Right. It's like,
Yeah.
nah, these weren't just like Tip and Jeezy weren't just due to like rap, like they were known like in the streets already. So when their stuff started to blow up, it was something that the street dudes galvanized behind too. So it wasn't just like the fact that dudes was like dope. It's like, nah, they was coming from a place and talking in a way because they was living that life. And that just resonates different than what Luda does. It's not to take anything away from what Luda did. If anything, Luda helped pave the way for a lot of people just by opening up the floodgates and showing that like a solo artist down here could go multi-platinum and be like a big star.
And
so
that the world would appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? And see, what Luda's gift was the fact that he was able to make really big records, even from a local standpoint. Like, for anybody to think that a song like What's Your Fantasy is a local record that had no major budget or anything behind it. Him and Sean J was in a basement or wherever, and they made this record. Well, they've recorded it patchwork, but still, we're talking about a local record. He didn't have to hook up with the biggest producers at the time to do that. And then Sean J went on to produce a Millie or whatever. But the fact that these guys made a worldwide smash in a similar way what Nelly did with Country Grammar on a very local level, that's really dope. And again, he didn't need to be in the streets like that because he had one record that took him over the top. T.I. and Jeezy didn't have that. It was multiple records that did it for them.
Right, but he also had avenues and resources they didn't have too. So you get there how you need to get there. You know
I think the other part about Luda's career too, which is awesome and insightful, is the fact that him being in radio, there was a lot of inside information he had, and he was trained to know what the people wanted to hear, what worked, what didn't. He was in those meetings. He was in those listening meetings. He understood what a hit record was going to be.
Right. So here's what he was great at, Mike. Like, you're not going to find an artist down here, even still to this day, T.I. probably would be the closest thing, that knows how to craft a record that is going to get played on radio immediately. Like, as in, like, the streets don't have to give it no buzz. It just fits into their format and you can go with it immediately. Oh, no, Mike, he did that flawlessly from jump.
I think, I think personally, Luda has one of the best rap careers, period. He hit every market every time. Like, I always feel like if he would have came out 2 years earlier or 2 years later, it would have been different, possibly. Who knows? But he hit that mark at that time, and then when it was time, like when records were selling and people were still buying records, he hit that dime right at that point. And when people weren't buying records anymore, he was able to get into Fast and Furious. He was able to get in Crash. He has a whole acting career. He has an incredible career.
You want to know what he did, Mike? He maximized every opportunity.
He didn't skim on anything.
He didn't skim on anything. He didn't sell himself short on anything, and he maximized every opportunity put in front of him. Yep.
I think that's incredible, and I think that needs to be highlighted more, for real.
No, I mean, smart dude, talented brother, and he's done a lot of giving back in the community and stuff too. And still
I think he had a plan from jump. Like, he knew he wasn't going to be in radio like that, but he used it for what he could at the time. Boom, let me do this. And he knew exactly when to pivot. People like that, they're thinking 2-3 steps ahead of the game.
Well, how about this? He was 2-3 steps ahead, but he had a hell of a backup plan, Mike. Like you said, he was probably the best DJ down here, local DJ, when he was down here.
Oh, yeah, if the shit didn't work out, he could have came back and been a radio legend again.
I'm about to say, Mike, I mean, are some of these dudes even on the radio if that doesn't happen? You know who I'm talking about?
You got people who are never in radio that have to go back to radio. You know what I'm saying? And listen, if I was talking to Luda, and I'm going to ask him this if I see him, I really wish him and Poon would have an Apple Music radio show once a week. Just do it for us, man. Q-Tip does it. It'll be fun. Just an hour out of your day.
See how it goes.
Those guys were great, man. I wish we had footage of it. I wish we had like YouTube clips. There's a few obscure clips out there of Chris and Poon's show, but I wish people could really understand how dope their show was. That's why they were rising so quickly. They were entertaining. Poon was funny. Chris was funny. Lala was on their show, and then who was it? Who was the other person that made it? She's out in L.A. The other DJ. It'll come to me in a minute. But yeah, Lala was on the show. Chris used to rhyme on this show. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as far as like T.I.'s work in Atlanta, he's a legend, and I wish other people would understand that. This is the point I wanted to get to. I think that I understand why he didn't accept the Busta Rhymes thing. And I think you and I have talked about this offline. I think that him versus Busta Rhymes in the verses really doesn't do much for him. You understand what I'm saying? It's kind of a lose-lose situation for him.
Well, he can't win that argument with the heads for one. Like all the hip hop heads are going to side with Busta.
But he's never been in that art. Busta's never been a part of his argument. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, like, I understand where he was coming from trying to go at 50 because they came out around a similar time. And, he was always trying to achieve, from what I understand and what he used to say and what Pharrell said, he wanted to be the Jay-Z of the South. And, as much as I love Busta, Busta's not really thought of in those ways, right? I think a Luda and Busta might make a little bit more sense. But as far as, like, all of the things that T.I. has covered subject matter-wise and all that, I think he probably wanted somebody who fit that a little bit more. I don't think that him and Busta really make sense outside of the fact of just challenging one MC to another. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But see, the problem that Tip has in this situation is he doesn't want to go against anybody in the South. He wants to go against somebody in New York. And there's nobody else really in New York left for him. Other than 50, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's nobody. I mean, even him bringing up Pusha T's name. I mean, I don't want to see that. I would rather see him and Wayne.
I don't think that's a good stylistic matchup, yeah. And I don't like that for Pusha T just because of Tip's wide-reaching audience about this whole social media thing we just expressed. Because actually Pusha and Wayne, like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, Mike. I've been a big Pusha fan since like literally like the jump, and he just started letting us into his life when he got married and had a kid. Like he just started letting us in like a little bit.
Pusha's very sneaky though. I mean, because we know Pusha from Clips and a lot in his solo run and everything right after Clips. But we start thinking about all the records that Pusha's been on.
Oh, he's been on
current times. It's like, he could really sneak up on somebody, to be perfectly honest. But I think honestly, man, I mean, the only matchup for T.I. for real that makes sense is just Wayne, man. It's got to be Wayne, and I don't even think Ross makes too much sense for him either. It's just got to be him and Wayne, because you're not gonna get the Jay-Z and Nas, and you're not gonna get Ye. I honestly feel like, and I've said it on the show before, I think Kanye is probably the most unbeatable and unpredictable person in a versus. We're about to pick our 20 Nas records against the Rap Roundtable's 20 J records. So I think that Jay and Nas are the only people for each other, to be perfectly honest. So I don't think that T.I. is there with his catalog, but I do think that, if he select properly, him and Wayne could give us a good one. Wayne just has so much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think he should have accepted the Busta Rhymes one though, and I think he still can, right? But I don't know what that does for him. What does that do for T.I.'s legacy if he beats Busta Rhymes in this, or seemingly beats Busta Rhymes in this?
I don't necessarily know what that does, but also let's keep in mind, like, he challenged 50. So it's like when we talk about him ducking Busta Rhymes, well, it's like, well, did 50 duck T.I.? Because, like, that's something that's not being expressed. We just got to express all sides.
Okay, we got to express all sides, yes. It appears that 50 did duck T.I. He didn't accept the challenge. And see, the thing is, 50 also wasn't one of those people out there who said he wasn't going to do a versus, because he expressed that he wanted to do a versus against Luda, Snoop, who I forgot who else, but he put some names out there, possible verses. So he was down with the verses idea. I guess he feels like, or he to wanted to portray in public that T.I. is not on his level. Now that's not the case. I think
Well,
50 and T.I. would make a good one though, because 50 got some heat.
he got some heat. Well, that's the thing. So look at it through T.I.'s spectrum as a legendary Southern hip hop MC. When you have somebody like 50 who ducks him, and then Busta Rhymes' name surfaces, it's like that kind of looks like the okey doke, if you ask me too. That's why I've always kind of been funny like that. It's like, how did the Busta T.I. thing even become a thing when it was supposed to be about T.I. and 50, which makes all the more sense in the world. So for me, if I'm Tip, I'm looking at that. Well, it's like, oh well, they sending me into a fight that they know that I can't win. When they do that, that's the setup.
It does come across as that, but I think
Right.
that came because he called New York out.
Well, Mike, if he is, bring the best person. Like if he's
People in here saying 50 would crush T.I. K. Thompson says 50 wouldn't win against the Game.
He definitely wouldn't win against the Game. T.I. versus the Game came to my mind too. I mean, how about this?
That would be fun to watch.
That would. 50's heat is really top heavy, Mike, and I don't know how it plays out over the course of a full 20. Like them first 10, yeah, he might fade Tip. Then last 10, I don't think so.
How you think? I mean, I guess it'd be all about how they line it up. How do you think that Window Shopper would play in 2022?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like how's Winston gonna play? Because and here's what I'm saying too, Mike. Like Tip is actually one of the few guys that has a record that can go up against In the Club. Like he's got what you know. Like he's got a monstrous record.
I mean, he played What You Know, then you know. I mean, I'm sorry, not What You Know. He played In the Club or something. T.I. could go Blurred Lines. He could go My Love with Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, he's got places to go. He's Mike. He's been all over the place. He's done stuff with everybody. He's done stuff with major people too, Mike.
And he was spitting too. That's the important part.
That's what I'm saying, Mike. On most of the stuff that Tip smashes on, because he knows the moment, Mike, some of the biggest stuff is some of his best performances. That's going to play well in the verses. Because you can play his biggest stuff, and he's still snapping on there.
I'm going to say this, and I guess we can move on, or I'll give you the last word. But, I mean, T.I.'s just going to have to go out there and do a verses, because I think that this suits him very well. People need to be reminded of what he has done musically. Because when he dropped that Libra Scale album a couple years back, it was a good album, and people act like it didn't happen. So when that starts happening, you got to start reminding people, you know, of your legacy and what you've done musically. And I think a Versus is a great platform for him to do it. He just has to find the right person to do it with, man. I don't know what happened with that whole Jeezy thing, with a last minute, you know, switch with Gucci, but that could have done it too. And he would have blown Jeezy out, respectfully. You don't think so?
I didn't love Jeezy's track selection. Like for me, for Jeezy, it would be about the track selection. But like, I'm funny about his stuff. Like I told you, my favorite Jeezy project is Trap or Die too.
Yeah, my favorite Jeezy stuff is the, you know, underground stuff, the You Dig.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't even know how much album stuff I would get to after I got done playing the Trap or Die and Trap or Die 2 stuff. Then I would go like getting the album stuff like Who Dat.
I don't really like those records like that. I don't.
I
like the one he did with
You don't like Who Dat?
It's cool. I mean, like I said, I Do This, you know, You Dig, Get Your Mind Right.
Mike, who that's like an eternal ATL club banger, Mike. Like that's always gonna play.
It was cool. But
I don't agree. Love it.
I was gonna go to to your top 5. Well, you know what, our top 5, because we spoke about it and we put together this top 5 sophomore albums list, and people had some things to say about it. For the people who didn't see the clip, we posted it on According to Hip Hop. What was that? Yesterday? The top 5 sophomore albums in hip hop, and number 5 was Mobb Deep's The Infamous. Number 4 was Ice Cube's Death Certificate. Number 3 was Life After Death. Number 2 was The Low End Theory from A Tribe Called Quest. And number 1 was It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. A lot of people had a lot of comments. One of the comments that I saw the most was, "Where is it was written?" And my first, when we discussed this, my biggest hang up was the fact that the score and Supreme Clientele weren't on there.
Right.
But see, the thing is, and I do think the score is probably the biggest sophomore jump ever. We were just talking about T.I.'s sophomore jump, which I think is a big one too. But I think that this list, arguably, these are these artists' best albums. At their sophomore effort, they made their best album. And I don't care what any of y'all say out there. I respect it was written. He's spitting like crazy. It's not better than Illmatic. And I hate to, bring Illmatic into the conversation, but if we're talking about sophomore efforts, I got to give a kudos to the people who stepped it up from their first effort.
So, Mike, you said something very, very important about the 5 that we chose. Well, this is everybody that we chose in this top 5. This is their best project.
Yeah.
And because it's their best project, the impact of these projects loom large, and that's why it got chosen. Because it's their best work, the impact of them is stronger. Now, It Was Written is lyrically, only thing on here that's even comparable is Life After Death, okay? And I love It Was Written. And of all the other classic second albums that I've listed, the only album that's even lyrically close to It Was Written that I could find was, of course, Follow the Leader by Rakim, and maybe Hell Hath No Fury by the Clips on a good day, Mike, lyrically. So It Was Written, and Liquid Swords, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that was the bigger one. Now, if people having a problem with Liquid Swords, I'm like, that's tough.
You know how I feel about Liquid Swords. And so if you wanted to argue about Liquid Swords because it is the GZA's best project, then I'd say yes, but here's why it's not in there. Does Liquid Swords have the impact of the infamous Death Certificate, Life After Death, the Low End Theory? It Takes a Nation of Millions.
No.
It's somebody that loves lyricists, love MCs, love the GZA, swears by Liquid Swords. The answer is no. And it's the same thing as It Was Written. Mike, it's the same thing with Follow the Leader. Is Mike?
Yeah.
It's not paid in full. It's not his best effort.
No.
It Was Written. It's not.
Terminator 2 is bringing up Resurrection. Listen, Common's Resurrection. That's not even Common's best effort, but it was an amazing jump, though. Just like trap music, it was an amazing jump. Hold on. It was a comment that I was seeing that I did. Oh, 2001. Okay, it's not Dr. Dre's sophomore album. I'm sorry, man. We're not going to sit here and act like the Aftermath album didn't happen.
Facts. That's why it's
2001 is Dr. Dre's third album. I know we like to play around with the narrative, or whoever likes to play around with the narrative that's just his third album. I mean, that's just his second album. No, that's his third album. He came out with the Aftermath album. You can't tell me that there's anything different between how that album was constructed and how the Chronic and the Chronic 2001 was constructed. He just wants you to forget about that album. If the Dynasty is in Jay-Z's catalog, how are we going to say that this isn't in Dre's catalog?
Facts. So, Mike, and so when people are getting, and we saw a lot of It Was Written, but when people are getting, and it's all healthy debate, and I want people to understand how healthy it is. Well, this is a beautiful conversation to have that people want their albums in, but I want to submit something to you all. Oh, this is a never-ending debate kind of topic. That's kind of why we did it, because, Mike, I have, written under R5, I have about 30 other sophomore hip-hop classics. You mind if I run them down for you right quick?
Go for it.
Late Registration by Kanye West. Mm-hmm. Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. It was written by...
Stop. I saw To Pimp a Butterfly a lot, and I'm like, it's hard to determine what is actually Kendrick Lamar's sophomore album.
No, Mike, we're just rolling with Section 80, because Section 80 is what really put everybody like in a frenzy about him, so we're going to roll with it like a project. Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. It Was Written by Nas. Liquid Swords by the GZA. Follow the Leader by Rakim. ATLiens, Outkast. Supreme Clientele, Ghostface Killer. The Fugees, The Score. Mike, De La Soul is Dead.
Yeah. That's actually my favorite De La album.
Mike, arguably, By All Means Necessary, Boogie Down Productions, Mike, Hell Hath No Fury by The Clips, 400 Degrees by Juvenile, Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent, Niggas for Life,
Oh,
NWA.
I don't think Get Rich or Die Trying should count. But
It
I
does.
understand where you're coming from.
Power of the Dollar. Power of the Dollar existed and existed
It
long enough.
existed, it never came out.
I heard that
But you
album.
know what? No, we heard it. It never came out, so it's like it's tricky. It's kind of like Blake Griffin, right? When Blake Griffin was a rookie, he didn't play the whole season. But when he came back his second season, he was still eligible to be Rookie of the Year. Now, I had a problem with that. I think that John Wall should have gotten that because you're sitting here doing pro workouts, traveling, with a pro team. That's different than a guy that's coming straight out of college and jumping into the NBA playing for the first time. So, but
Mike.
So I don't know, man. I feel like Get Rich or Die Trying still a debut.
He signed a contract. He got a release date.
They never put the record out.
He made a whole album. I mean, okay, we can scratch it.
The record has to come out though.
We can scratch it. I've heard the album. It's not a bad project.
No, he made an album, but again, we can't.
Ooh, Mike,
we can't sit here and say Overly Dedicated is not an album. You know what I mean?
I ain't gonna flex on it too tough. We can let it slide. We can slide it right on out. Mike, the album I have right under it I think is a great talking point because I think this is maybe the greatest sophomore album that's never talked about that's a classic. And that's Wanted, Dead or Alive by Cool G Rap. Cool G Rap's second album, Mike. Cool G Rap's second album is a classic. I think a lot of people forget this is where Large Professor really steps in and starts showing who he is.
You're right.
Right.
What do you think about Bigger and Deffer? That keeps being brought up too.
Mike, I'm not finished yet. Let me go to the other side.
Okay.
On the other side, I started with Bigger and Deffer.
Okay.
Paul's Boutique, Wu-Tang Forever, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, The Main Ingredient, Pete Rock and CL Smooth, Resurrection by Common Sense, There Is a Dark Side by Redman, Lab Cabin California by The Far Side.
Did you leave out the Marshall Mathers LP?
I didn't want to have an Eminem conversation.
I understand. But
For once.
Listen, it keeps being brought up in the chat. I think
Stop.
I think it's a.
Mike,
I don't think it. No. Let me word this right.
In there, but I don't want to. Oh God.
I don't think it's the classic. A lot of people say it is, but I do think it is probably one of the more impactful sophomore albums ever in hip hop. If you want to consider it hip hop, pop, whatever.
Okay, Mike, I'm going to finish with my list because I'm almost done, Mike. I got two more albums that I want to bring up by two very big artists. And although I don't consider either one of these albums to be classics, I do consider some of the artists' best material to be on there. And that's Take Care by Drake and Volume 1 by Jay.
We're going to get into this Volume 1 discussion because Jay's talking a lot about Volume 1 now.
Hey, Mike, I want people to understand how deep dope sophomore effort goes. Mike, I made me a little 5-piece of dope West Coast sophomore efforts just for the West Coast people, Lab Cabin California by The Far Side, Life is Too Short, In a Major Way by E40, No Need for Alarm by Del the Funky Homo Sapien.
Hey.
Yeah, I love No Need for Alarm. That was my cousin Six's favorite album at the time. Boo Boo Heads, remember that, Mike?
I remember.
Mike, Black Sunday by Cypress Hill. Mike, production on that album is stupid.
What do you think about all right, well, people are saying, hold on, let me go to, because I saw something, the chat's moving fast, my bad. Main Ingredient's a great one. That's what I saw and I wanted to highlight. I was thinking Doctor's Advocate from the Game.
I had that on the borderline just because I don't know how people feel about that project. I personally love it.
He thinks it's his best. I've heard a lot of people say they like it more than the documentary. What do you think about people saying in Straight Outta Compton as a sophomore album because the NWA Posse album?
I had a whole conversation with dude in the chat about that yesterday, and he's like, but all the core members are there and some of the core songs are there. And I'm like, yeah, but there's whole other compilations of people there too. That's not the NWA we know.
And some of them songs got carried over to Straight Outta Compton.
So that's why I'm saying.
So it's not like it's a whole new album. You know what I mean? It's almost like we recorded a couple songs. Now we got to finish this album.
Right, and it's
Yeah.
almost like that's when they became NWA. Really, it's like those songs that they recorded together, like that core collective became something. That was kind of like I was telling them, I'm like, that's hood compilation love shit. That's like everybody from the block that's in the projects. Dre and Yella the only ones with the studio. Everybody from the hood showing up, busting around. I've been in plenty of spots like that.
Listen, I think Niggas for Life is just as good. So
Niggas for Life is on this list.
yeah, Niggas for Life is crazy.
I think for me, Mike, I mean, and this is just, I guess, like, just the old school aesthetic. I guess what stuck out to me from all the albums that I listed was lyrically how, like, Supreme, it was written, Liquid Swords, and Follow the Leader were in my mind immediately. I was like, man, that's true. And also, too, Mike, just Bigger and Deafer and Wanted Dead or Alive by LL and G Rap. Don't want to forget about those albums. Those are
I know we do our top 5 show. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but maybe we should do a whole top 20 of that. I mean, you got a whole list there.
I just named Mike. I mean, I left off some stuff too, Mike. You can go Firing Squad, MOP, Jealous Ones, Envy, Fat Joe. Mike, one of your personal favorites, Sean Price, Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah. Love Sean Price, man. I do think that the Infamous is just one of those special moments, man. And again, I think that for me, the way we put together the list, it was hard not to put the score on there because they're so much better on the score than they were on Blunted on Reality. They became an all-time, talent-wise, they became an all-time great group. They went from being an average group to being an all-time great group in one jump.
So hold on. So let's
have an all-time great potential. Can I say it like that?
Right. So here's what I'm going to submit to you, Mike. Of all the albums that I wanted to put on, the score and the Infamous, and the reason that I have the Infamous at number 5 instead of the score is about the jump, because I find the jumps to be comparable. The way that you're saying they became like all-time great. Oh, Prodigy's all-time great on that album, Mike. And and there are very few hip-hop albums that have as many memorable hip-hop moments as the Infamous. Like the Infamous has more memorable hip-hop moments than the score, and the jump is comparable. And here's also the thing about it, Mike. They proved that the jump was real with subsequent releases thereafter. And so they get credit for that. We don't know if the Fugees are capable of making the score again. We know Mob is capable of making some Infamous type shit.
You agree? I mean, I agree. I was going to say the same thing. Darren Harris says the Infamous didn't get 5 mics because Illmatic came first. I think that's a very astute observation.
So, Mike, let's go to Illmatic right quick, because how about this? I'll tell you that the Infamous has just as many memorable moments as Illmatic when you think about it. Eye for an Eye, Shook Ones, Give Up the Goods. Those are all street anthems just like the ones on Illmatic. Like, it has just as many memorable moments. Drink Away the Pain with Q-Tip, Mike, where Q-Tip uses the whole fashion references for the verse.
Yeah.
Right Back at You, where Ghost and Ray is going back and forth. Temperatures Rising, about the man being locked up. Like, Mike, those are big hip-hop moments. All heads know those moments. That's all on one album.
Xavier Logistics brought up an album that I was going to bring up, East 1999.
Oh, I forgot about that, Mike. That's my bad. That might be the one I missed.
Yeah. Game changer right there.
Yep.
Yeah, that is a game changer.
You're all up in here today. What up?
All right. So, speaking of sophomore efforts, and I know you're going to love this topic, and I couldn't wait to talk about this topic with Coop, man. But Questlove put out a tweet. Actually, it started from another fan's tweet where they were talking about Sunshine. And so Questlove put out this tweet. He said, our main argument is he hate for, I guess he means his hate for Volume 1. He is embarrassed for trying to make a monster and put numbers up. But a lot of this LP contains some of his best moments. Fight Me. And then he tagged Jay-Z in it. And Jay-Z responded to it. Jay says, agreed. More so, I know what could have been. So it haunts me. Streets is Watching was the first song I made. You know,
Mike, stop.
Hold up.
I could have recalled somebody was on here talking about Volume 1, talking about it being interesting. It sounds like Friend or Foe 98 was the first song that got made. I believe I said that.
Did you say Friend or Foe? I was just about to say that. First song I made because I know you
was the first song that got recorded off Volume 1.
I do remember that. And I also remember
where we are.
You know, I know you're in the room, Jay. I don't know which of
Oh,
you,
here you go.
which of you guys is his dummy account. But listen, I know
Not
we
him,
all.
Mike, but it's somebody close.
But
Somebody already.
I've always said on this show, like, it fascinates me to think about what songs were made first on an album. Have I not said that? And I know we kind of speculated on what was made first on Volume One. I know that when we talked about Reasonable Doubt, we were saying that it sounded like Coming of Age was possibly made first. Remember that whole debate we had about what could have possibly been made first for that? So I found that part of his tweet interesting. But I mean, the fact that he's talking about your album after all these years, no one has really been beating the drum for Volume One but you. Because when I put my top 5 J albums, it's not in there.
Keep
But
trying to
you
tell you,
always
volume.
go back to Volume One, and he says this album haunts him. Listen, it is 2022. Jay-Z's had since 1997 to talk about his affinity for Volume One. I haven't heard much of it. You might hear something every now and then or whatever, but yeah, I haven't heard much love that he has for that album. Clearly, he loves certain songs. We see it in his sets. We see Where I'm From possibly show up every now and then. I've never seen him perform Streets is Watching in current times. I will say that.
Shoot.
He should.
If I shoot you,
I've
I'm
never
saying-
seen him perform Imaginary Player. And A Million and One, I mean, we would love to hear that. I don't know, man. Where do you think this is going? Because you know how I feel. I feel like if anything that happens with Jay-Z and Beyonce, they want to be out there, right? Jay-Z wants Volume 1 to be on the conscious of people right now. But my only thing is, why exactly? What are they about to do with Volume 1? Is this B-side stuff he was talking about in the verses, or?
Mike, yes. This is what I've been saying the whole time about Volume 1.
So he wants the public to get warmed up to Volume 1 so he could drop it on the verses or something?
He needs to, Mike. Some of his most memorable stuff, Mike, for me, about half of his most memorable moments as an MC post Reasonable Doubt, they're right here, Mike. I got it lined up for you. I'm gonna tell you.
Somebody said Bleak's in the room too. Yeah, he might. What up, Bleak? Shout out to Bleak out there.
So let me tell you what hurt this project, Mike. It was 3 songs, and they were all the singles that made you forget that almost every other song on the album is brilliant. That's City Is Mine, Sunshine, and I Know What Girls Like. Mike, I'm going to add one more song to it that I didn't think that was that good, that I think he said that he really liked once, and that's Lucky Me. Mike, outside of those 4 songs, the rest of that album, he's on fucking fire.
Name those songs again.
City Is Mine, I Know What Girls Like, Sunshine, and Lucky Me. That's all some mid, Mike. That's all some mid. You can toss that out.
So we talking about Kelly Price is on Lucky Me, right?
No, Kelly Price is on You Must Love Me.
You Must love me. I'm sorry. Okay,
That's
yeah, Lucky,
not me.
Lucky Me's fine. But
Lucky
yeah,
Me,
that, yeah,
all right.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
me.
yeah, all right. Okay, listen. You got Babyface and Foxy Brown, Lil Kim, and Blackstreet, and you got a track produced by Teddy Riley. And it's interesting that with that superstar cast of those 5 individuals, those are 3 of the weakest moments.
No, Mike, they are the weakest moments, Mike. But you want to know what the strongest moments are? And this is what I keep talking about him and how his career should have went more like this.
People are saying Lucky Me is kind of trash. Okay.
I keep telling you it's a myth. Mike, listen to all these songs that I'm about to name, because guess what? Hardly no guest appearances in some of his best stuff. A Million and One Questions, Rhyme No More, Imaginary Player, Streets Is Watching, Friend or Foe 98, Where I'm From, You Most Love Me, Rap Game, Crack Game, Who You With Part 2, Face Off featuring Sauce Money, Real Niggas with Too Short. All those records are fucking fire, and he sounds phenomenal on there.
Well,
and so you forget
Bowling for Clarity says that Face Off is kind of trash. I never liked Who You With, but yeah, I get it.
Mike, his spit game, first of all, his spit game on Who You With is elite. The rest of y'all like
no. He rhyming. I think it's the beats I'm not liking. Ooh. And honestly, man, again, that could be a regional thing for me too, because at the same time, Lil Jon had Who You With out down here. So that could be it.
Cards and take everything you came with. though to get more shows to rip. I suggest you want to roll with the click.
You know
He
what?
crazy.
I will say this. That is a rare instance of Jay taking on the hook and putting the
He's
song out.
crazy. No, that's what I'm saying. He's crazy on there. This is Prime Jay. This is the guy that I love. This is the guy that's in the conversation to be the greatest MC of all time. Not that guy on the blueprint.
What?
This
Ho,
guy.
ho, 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 ho.
This
No,
guy.
no, no. I thought about what you said about the blueprint, man. This is what I will give the blueprint. It had some game on some of them
You're
lines.
talking about the songs. I'm talking about the guy, the MC. The MC.
No, I understand what you're saying, but lines like "What you eat don't make me shit." Where's the love?
Mama.
That's
Mike. He's Mike on volume 1. He's in rare form. There are no one-liners. He's just like.
I agree with Jay Short here.
Acting like they slum cats, all in they dumb raps, talking about how they fun stat. That guy, oh no, you know.
The raps are great. The raps are great, but I agree with Jay Short here. Jay Short in the chat says the production didn't age well on that album.
But
and
the rhymes, Mike.
No, I feel you. You're a rhymes first guy, and you know I'm with the rhymes, but production and just how the songs put together, or like Rosenberg would say, song structure, you know, that gets me, you know, but I'll say this.
Streets is Watching might be his best start off to a song ever.
Oh, yeah, definitely. No, the problem with Volume 1 for me.
I'm brainless, but if you shoot me, you're famous. What's a nigga to do when the is
Joe Bro says 97, ho.
First mistake, can't ignore it. That's the first way to get extorted. My time is money, and 25, I can't afford it. Beef assorted like cadavers. Ooh.
Yeah, 97 Hove, man. That's vintage Hove right there. It's not quite Reasonable Doubt, but it's a still evolved version of it. I think the biggest misstep for Volume 1 is he was trying to do what Biggie did on Life After Death, to be perfectly honest. I mean, obviously, I think that album was recorded in Bad Boy's studio.
It was getting made. Yeah,
yeah, so he was there when Biggie was making Life After Death. He was hearing what was going on, and he was still keeping it Jay with his spit game and with the, you know, some of the production like $1,000,001. But he felt like, as a businessman and as a hustler, that he had to go with where the music was going. And I don't think that his style had completely adjusted to where things were going. I think that's why he says it haunts him,
right,
because he knows a lot more now musically, and I'm sure when he listens to that album, he's like, man, I wish I could have done this, wish I could have done that, taken this out, made this decision, whatever. You know how, like, I mean, you and I both have recorded before. You know how, like, when you hear your old stuff, you be like, I did that. Wish I could have changed. That's probably what he means by that.
Actually, Mike, you want to hear something funny? The guy who co-executive produced my first album just hit me on WhatsApp. Obi, my guy Obi hit me, and he just listened to my first project that we did back in 2007. He's like, the engineering is great. Some of this shit held up well. So it's like, but I know what you're saying. It's like, that's that revisionist history, Mike. Mm-hmm. But I think it's more about those hits not slapping, because he's known for his hits. And here's what I mean about
the low points of the album.
And the hits are the low point of the album. But here's the thing: even on the hits, Mike, his spit game crazy. Like, you want to know what? Like, he's the best. He's the best guy to slide misogyny in the rhyme ever. Like, you hear him on Sunshine, he's like half Philippine thing for now. Let's call her Suki.
I mean,
he's crazy. He's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's on top of it, even on those records that don't slap. And that's what I mean about 97 Ho. It's like, even the records that don't slap, you hear a guy that not too many guys have ever rhymed like.
I think my problem with Volume 1, and it's interesting, it's one of those Jay albums that I don't really listen to because I listen to the highlights. I don't really listen to it from end to end. And I know one day, I think it might have been about a year ago, I tried to do it, and it just exposed to me how weird this album is. It's like, highlights, Mike. It is a lot of highlights, but the stuff that aren't highlights doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't, but it's about 30, 35 minutes worth of highlights. Like,
no. The great moments are the great moments. The thing is, I normally just go straight to Imaginary Player. I'll go straight to $1,000,001. Or I'll go straight to The Streets Is Watching. I'll go straight to certain records, but it's not one of those albums where it's like, you put one song on, you're like, I got to listen to this whole thing. You know what I mean?
Can I tell you my honest listen, how I listen to it? I listen to track 1, which is the intro and Rhyme No More. I skipped track 2 and 3. That's The City Is Mine. I Know What Girls Like. Track 4 is Imaginary Player. Imaginary Player. Streets Is Watching. Friend or Foe 98. That's 4 through 6. I listen to those. Then I pick it back up with Who You With, Face Off, Real Niggas, Rap Game, Crack Game. I always got to hear where I'm from. Imaginary Player, Streets Is Watching, Where I'm From, and A Million One Questions are the ones I got to hear.
Where do you rank Volume 1 in Jay-Z's catalog?
For me, I mean, it's Reasonable Doubt, Blueprint, the Black Album, and then I'd probably put Volume 1 right there because of the rhyme performance. So 4 or 5.
Really?
The rhyme performance on there is crazy, Mike. He ain't rhyming like that on any of those other albums except maybe the Black Album.
I never heard Jay put Volume 1 anywhere, but I've heard him rank his albums. But I'm sure that's changed now since he's talking about Volume 1. So
I mean, like Face Off is Biggie's hook. This goes out to my Brooklyn crew.
I didn't love that.
Up in the air, if you feel me. I don't love the beat, Mike, but him and Sauce on there are on fire. Their back and forth game is crazy.
Oh yeah. I'm saying I didn't love that. That play on Nasty Boy. You don't even like that song.
I like Face Off more than I like Nasty Boy.
That's crazy. Big was spitting on that. I remember we went to Tennessee. Then came home. Man, messages was on my phone. Check man, Simone.
Mike, you know what the problem with Nasty Boy is, Mike? I don't know. 10 Crack Commandments. You're nobody till somebody kills you. The Long Kiss Goodnight. My Downfall. The World is Filled. There's so much
great songs.
Stuff right. There's just stuff that's blowing that out the water that's right around it. It's like literally right before it and right after it.
The thing is,
did.
You're right. The thing is, if you heard Nasty Boy like on the radio and hadn't heard the album, you'd be like, yo, this is dope. That actually kind of happened to me with the Blueprint.
You want to know what Nasty Boy is, Mike? Actually, it's a testament to how epic Biggie is as a hit maker, because it's like after you hear One More Chance and Hypnotize and Juicy and Get Money and all these hits and how he smashes on those hits, and then you get Nasty Boy, you like, yeah, put your Nobody Till Somebody Kills You on.
That happened to me with the Blueprint. So the first song I heard from the Blueprint, this is back in the Napster days, I was able to download Jigga Jigga That Nigga Jigga. And that was the first song that I heard from that whole album, which is so wild.
Sorry.
Actually, because he performed Izzo on the BET Awards.
Sorry about that.
He did that one verse or whatever. So I heard that, but I hadn't heard like a recording of it. But anyway, I heard that song, and this is coming off of the Dynasty. I was like, this song's cool. You know what I'm saying? And then you hear the rest of the album. Like, nah, song's not. I would like to hear him speak on that too. Since you're listening to the show, Jay, I want to know about the decision to put Jigga Jigga That Nigga Jigga and Ola Ovito on the Blueprint. I understand the Renegade thing. You had to do that. Eminem was the hottest in the game, whatever. I get that. Because we all know that production does not fit with the other production that was on the Blueprint, especially since there was supposed to be a theme for the Blueprint, allegedly. So I want to know, what was the thought process of, having Ola Ovito and Jigga Jigga That Nigga Jigga on there? Because Ola Ovito's actually not a bad song. It's just on the wrong album. Jigga Jigga That Nigga Jigga, though. I don't know, man. That Bob Marley line kind of throws me, man. That gnarly dude, I puff Bob Marley dude all day like Rastafari's dude.
So, Mike, between that and what you're talking about with Renegade, you still think the Blueprint is better than Stillmatic?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Because Stillmatic doesn't have that many missteps. It just has one. Uno. It's one misstep on the whole album.
I don't like Renegade like that because the production's whack, in my opinion. But they brought it with the bars. And people love Renegade. So I'm not going to say Renegade's a misstep. I think the misstep on that album is Jigga Jigga That Nigga Jigga.
Just asking questions.
Now, if you ask me who's rhyming better on the two albums, I would say Nas is rhyming better. I mean, he told the story backwards.
Rewind is on Stillmatic.
That exactly.
That's all that out of play.
And One Mic is too. And
you're the man, Mike, and the Stillmatic intro. That's why I keep on asking you. You sure that it's better? Because
the Blueprint's a better album than Stillmatic.
How are them songs holding up, Mike?
I think the songs are holding up well. I think Heart of the City holds up very well. I think Never Change holds up very well. I'm like a dog. I never speak, but I understand what my dog said.
Heart of the City, yes. You Don't Know, yes. The Ruler's Back, yes. Lyrical Exercise, yes.
You Don't Know is better than every song on Stillmatic.
No, it's not better than Rewind.
Come on, man.
A
It
lot of
is, man. Stop
on a
it.
lot of levels. I mean, the beat's
Stop
better.
it. The whole song's better.
The
But
rhymes
see,
aren't better,
we
Mike. The rhymes not better.
we had this whole argument where you say that Rewind's a better song than Biggie's I Got a Story to Tell. That's
It
just not the
is.
truth. It's not.
It is.
It's not.
Rewind is better than I Got a Story.
Rewind's
It's not
lyrical
better than Niggas Bleed.
performance.
May not Niggas Bleed might be better than Rewind. But
See,
I Got a
man,
Story,
you gonna have me out here like this, man.
Mike,
Nas's manager watches our show.
Mike, I love I Got a Story to Tell. I actually had a guy from New York chop up a sample I Got a Story to Tell for a track that I was supposed to record that I never did. Like, I love the record. It's not better than Rewind.
J5 says Stillmatic fell off towards the end.
Except for What Goes Around. How about this, Mike? You want to know what? What Goes Around, lyrically, is better than everything on the Blueprint, like by leaps.
LP says Izzo doesn't hold up well. Now that's a very fair assessment.
I told you Izzo don't slap like that when you was talking about Kanye's greatest hits. I'm like, he shouldn't put that in there.
Well, if we want to talk about not slapping, I don't like Got Yourself a Gun. Never did.
Mike, I don't love that beat. I don't love
like
that beat.
song.
I didn't love the beat by Megahertz. I'm not gonna lie. How about this? You want to know what my problem was? Was that shouldn't have been your first single.
Yeah.
That should have been just something you B-sided. You should have released You're the Man. You're the Man would have been the best first single for me.
Now, I'll tell you what, and I guess we can't do this because obviously these things came out at different times. But if Made You Look was on that album instead of Got Yourself a Gun, and that was the first single, we'd be having a whole different conversation.
Mike, it Made You Look on Stillmatic, like it goes up into a different category of classic.
It does.
It does.
That's how much one song can shift things.
Yeah,
and that's how great that song is.
Yeah, it goes into another category of classic. Like it goes up into another stratosphere of classic. It might go past It Was Written. How about that? Like if Made You Look is on Stillmatic, then that makes it better than It Was Written. It's like that.
You know, I've always had that whole Stillmatic It Was Written debate. I just feel like he was able to do more on Stillmatic.
He was, but it's not It Was Written.
Yeah, I think over time that's kind of proven to be true.
Yeah, The Message, Taken in Blood, Silent Murder.
Yeah, I mean, you keep counting Silent Murder, but you know, it is what it
counts, is. Mike, because when I saw the tape, what the tape said Silent Murder on the tape.
But when I had the CD, I bought the CD and I didn't have Silent Murder in my, on my disc, and I guess I feel a way about that. So.
Yeah. You could have ordered it overseas from the UK for $99 like
I was a kid. I wasn't.
Oh, yeah, you were a little younger than me in 96, right. right.
Okay, what else are we supposed to be talking about today? I mean, did you hear that Game, is it Kanye or Game's record?
I believe it's Game's record, actually.
Hit Boy produced it.
Mm-hmm.
Kanye spazzed on it. What you think about the song?
It's a pretty dope record for the most part. I mean, it wasn't like, their pairing is kind of funny to me because it's like outside of the first pairing, I keep waiting for them to match that, and I don't think it's going to happen. They kind of keep giving us something different, which is cool.
Yeah.
It's a dope record.
I think Kanye did a lot of venting on there. I mean, I think they just let him get on the track and go. Again, he says a lot. It's it was. I mean, just off first listen, again, he's one of those people that I love to hear actually rap when he raps. And it's hard for me to believe somebody wrote that stuff. Actually, you know what? That was part of what got Talib Kweli going crazy on our Instagram post. If you go to According to Hip Hop on Instagram, Talib was going in on the fans that were on the comment section. But Talib posted...
I reached out to him. He didn't reach back. He's been making a point to get into it with the fans, though.
Yeah, he did. He, he posted like some just parts of the quote from that verse and said something about ghostwriting. Hold on, let me actually get the actual wording. I don't want to sit here and paraphrase any of that. But many of the fans were criticizing the fact that, like, yo, why are you even going in on this? Why is this even a topic of your conversation? But anyway, he posted part of Kanye's verse, and he said, okay, which one of Kanye's ghostwriters got him dissing his own kids? That's so foul. Who rap battles their own children? Why, y'all? Why? So we posted, what he said about the verse, and some of the fans just start going in on, not really going in, just giving their
No, they was
opinion.
going into it was both sides being like slinging like low level mud. Like the fans was like saying some stuff and going at him, and he was responding in kind or not too kind.
Yeah, one comment that he posted, and y'all can go on our Instagram and see the thread yourself. Because I saw some of the comments that you actually screenshot and sent to me because I didn't even know what was going on. I saw were deleted. So I don't know. He deleted them or whatever.
That's why I screenshotted them to you because I had a feeling that was going to happen, especially after I reached out, because you have to understand too. He jumped on and see, this is what I mean about how the media works and how we don't belong to anybody. Oh, he jumped in our shit at a time where the average person who's running a page like that ain't checking, but we ain't everybody now, are we?
Well, Spencer Charles, shout out to...
So he was going to kind of throw that in there and then run at midnight. It's like, no, fam, not that type of organization. Hey, how are you? What's up?
Well, Spencer Charles posted, that's one of my guys, man. Got love for Spencer, man. Shout out to Spencer. Great photographer. He said, for the love of God, Talib, stop arguing with random niggas on the internet. You have a podcast. Why do you not know how the internet works? It's like, niggas are going to have opinions. You gain nothing by arguing with non-famous people on the internet. Go rap. Let niggas troll. You just rap. That's how you respond. When Kanye dissed you, you were supposed to use that hype and momentum to drop a track. Streams would have went crazy. Bars would have been crazy. Instead of your internet arguing with non-famous, you on the internet arguing with non-famous niggas, hire me as your publicist, man. This is ridiculous. Drop a track. And Talib says, I'm not your slave. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? All right. And then he keeps going. I don't want to go through the whole thing, but that's the comment that kind of caught my attention. I'm not your slave. Listen, I think that we're all, to some degree, when you respond to random niggas on the internet or, just social media comments, you do become a slave to that comment. Like what Nas say, you're a slave to a page in my rhyme book. Best thing to do is just either not read it, but I understand, man, just putting your frustration out there. And but yeah, that was wild that whole thread kind of started from that. But saying all that to say, I don't think anybody wrote that verse for Kanye, because and I'm not saying this as a Kanye fan or anything. I respect both MCs, but it's just his stuff comes off so personal and so personable. Who's writing this stuff for him? Because I don't think Sahai wrote that.
Well, which part of this do you want to discuss? You want to discuss what
whatever part you want.
Well, there's a few parts to it. For me, and I thought this when Talib was making his comments. Well, this isn't how I talk about my kids, but here's the thing, and you know this if you're a parent. Well, that's his kids and his situation, his form of expression, and really, unless like defects is involved, which I don't think they are, really not anybody else's place to tell somebody how to talk about their children and talk about their kids how they want to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wish somebody who don't know me would tell me about how I talk about or to my kid.
I think kids are off limits, period.
They're going to find themselves sitting in a holding cell across from me.
Yeah. Kids are off limits. And you don't tell people how to raise their kids and,
Right.
What
like, I'm
do.
not,
You don't even tell nobody, like... Go up to a mother that's breastfeeding and tell them that they need to stop breastfeeding their child. See what kind of reaction you get.
Oh my, they're gonna stop breastfeeding their child, but what they about to do to you is not about this.
Yeah, offer you, like you said, unless DFAX is involved or it's a potential DFAX situation, you don't offer your advice on how someone handles their children or, a situation that involves their child. I agree with you.
So here's where I want to take this, and this is why I reached out to Talib, and in the comment I mentioned wanting him and Ye as intelligent brothers who have a lot to offer to find a peaceful solution to things, because here's why. I really don't like what I've been seeing blacks in the media and just random blacks who have been jumping in these chat rooms, what they've had to say about Ye and this whole parenting situation as a whole, because it's not just the parenting situation as it relates to the rhymes. There was the whole thing with his daughter's birthday party. And what I've been seeing too much of is black people, quite frankly, siding with this white family that they don't know and calling this black brother crazy, like Talib, and like a lot of the comments that I've been reading, mostly from black women. I want you to understand, I've been reading comments from black women that have actually okaying the behavior of keeping this man, and that's why I brought up BFAX not being involved. They're keeping him from his kid. He had to find out about his daughter's birthday party because his ex-wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, younger sister, quite frankly, is fucking another rapper. And he's got a relationship with him, and that's how he has to get his information. And it seems to me that all this behavior is crazy, not his. He want to see his kid. And maybe some of the emotion that you're hearing is somebody that's just venting and lashing out about all of these things because he's been the one that's being subjugated to something when really all it appears he wants to do is be around his kids, Mike.
You know, one thing that I can appreciate about Kanye artistically, and that's why I hold him so high to that regard. I know a lot of people in hip hop, we regard skills on the mic and all that stuff, and you know, he has a little bit of that as well. But his honesty, regardless if you agree with him or not, we talk about keeping it real, right? Like, it don't get no realer than what this guy presents to you. You might not like it all the time, and you're not supposed to like when people are being real all the time. That's when you know it's really real. But that's one thing I will always respect about you know, his craft. And some people will take it as a publicity stunt, whatever. But is it real or is it not?
Hey, Mike, all I got to say is, and this is why I keep bringing up being defects involved. Like, there's no defects involved. There's no restraining order against Ye. You want to know why? Because what you would find is that in order for somebody to do that to somebody else, oh, well, that other person has to be beyond the scope. And what I'm trying to tell you is, oh, you pull up and find weed and cocaine in both of their systems. You feel me? So there really ain't much she can do. And so this dude not crazy the way he's talking. You know, but look emotionally where he's at. He's going through, like Mike, I've been saying this since Donda came out. It's like, well, he's going through a divorce and he's dealing with the issues, obviously still in bringing it back up about his mother passing and releasing an album about it. All of this stuff is in front scope for everybody to see. People have literally been calling him crazy for so long. It's a lot for somebody to deal with. He's an artist. Where is he going to vent that frustration?
That's what, I mean, as fans, right? That's what people want, right? You want
Isn't that what people want? Right.
TD says Jay is the greatest living artist. I said what I said. Hey, listen, man. I'm not mad at that.
Stevie Wonder's alive and well.
I guess we should say active. Yeah, Stevie Wonder's the greatest living artist.
Period.
Yeah,
that's not a good question.
And then you got Rare Form who says Ye is overrated. And you know, listen, I didn't
love Donda. I haven't loved anything in a while. Musically.
I get
some of
that.
this was extra, but that's what I'm saying about the narrative, and this is what I mean about the media again. Well, Talib's not only an artist, but he's part of the media, and so when he pulls up into our media page, saying the things that he's saying, it's like, hold up, stop for a second. It's like, didn't you just see him trying to get to his kids too? Like, you're not talking about that part of it. You get what I'm saying? You want to talk about the crazy verse. You don't want to talk about the dude that's literally driving around trying to get to his daughter. Like, you're not talking about that guy. You're talking about the guy that did the verse. Same person. But the media wants to keep talking about, you get what I'm saying? The negative side, like they always do.
Right. I think that, you know, for a skilled MC like Talib, I think the expectation for many fans, and I get it, he doesn't have to do what anybody says but himself. Like, we don't belong to anybody, you know, you're nobody's slave, but fans are going to have an opinion, right? To be the skilled MC that you are, people expect you to be able to put it on record and articulate whatever, as opposed to going back and forth with the social media stuff. I think that there's a level of expectation from, you know, people who are of a certain caliber, age, and respect level that fans expect. They don't expect certain people to go back and forth on social media. I mean, look, I would be totally surprised, and first name that comes to my head, be totally surprised if Nas is going back and forth to somebody on social media. Wouldn't you?
Well, Well, how about this? And this is what I mean. And I actually said this in my comment to him. I actually appreciated that he jumped in because most people of his stature think that they're above the fray and too good
No, I have
to
no
even.
problem with jumping in. It's just how he jumped in.
So, Mike,
Yeah.
I was having a chat with somebody in the group that we're in. It's like, no, I don't got a problem with what he's doing. I said, but it's how you do it. I was like, if you're doing it like a bully and like an asshole, well, nobody wants to listen to that. You're going to end up making yourself look bad. So a lot of that is going on because he's stooping to the level of the people that are throwing shade to him. Like, I've seen a lot of people talk about his MC skills. Like, I mean, he's not Nas, but Talib's pretty dope and he's made some great stuff. And the fact that
He's a legend.
right, he's a
to say?
legend.
Yeah.
And the fact that he fires back in kind with the same sort of spite, it's almost like you find yourself, don't you know how great you are?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
Like
that's
nothing that the fans say on that level should bother you to that degree.
like Mike, here's what I'm saying.
You're
It's
very
like,
accomplished
how about this? When I was seeing all the comments,
and respected.
I was seeing all these women, and most of them were black women, Mike, like in a very famous chat room, and they kept on saying all these things about Ye as a father, da 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 da. And I finally just commented to one of them. I just told her to hush. I was like, "You're not a father. You don't know what it's like as a black man to be a father. You know what I mean? So stop speaking on the matter as which." And Mike, she kept going back and forth with me, and she said some disrespectful things, Mike. But then I thought about it for a second. It's like, oh, was she gonna pull up on my page and see that like I actually have a platform where I may actually reach people, Mike? The next thing I sent her was some scripture, and then I backed out. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because what I didn't want to do was be creating a tone of going back and forth with this woman. I said what I said. You said what you said. I'm gonna take a higher road, and I'm gonna bow out. And sometimes
they'll screenshot you.
Out.
Yeah. Yeah, those screenshots. It's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that, yeah, I mean, you alluded to it earlier. I think that even in social media, especially in social media, we can actually we can disagree and get to a point where, we get on the same page. I've done it many a times in quote unquote debates in social media that started off with a certain tone, but if you respond in another way, you can bring this thing back around. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that the proper response is, I'm not your motherfucking slave, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a way you could have been like, listen, man, I see where you coming from, whatever. This is what I don't appreciate, and this is what, this is where we can go from here. I think that the fans, because it wasn't just Spencer, it was other people that he was jumping in their comments.
Oh, he jumped on a few people, Mike. He got some smoke with about 4 or 5 people just in ours alone. And Mike, and then I went to our group chat and found out he had been giving somebody else in another chat some smoke too. I'm thinking like, damn, it's like, oh, did you just like wake up and like this is what you do? You jump from thread to thread where you somewhere involved and just get people like, I'm like, dude. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, listen, I think that, like you said, it's too much back and forth. And people can disagree, but it shouldn't get that personal where it's like you can't go nowhere with it. Like, we would love to, and I know people could say, well, y'all were this and that with Rosenberg and Cypher Sounds. Look, we just didn't appreciate certain narratives or whatnot, but we would love to sit there and debate them about hip hop.
I mean, they were disrespectful. And then they were shady about it, and it's just like, I'm a grown man. It's
and
like,
then own up to it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, say it with your chest, and like, you know what I'm saying, and say it to my face. That's because I would do the same thing to you. Yeah. And it's gonna be what it's gonna be from there. But even with the thing with Talib, and here's a good way to frame this on a day like this, Mike, where we're celebrating Dr. King. When you think about Dr. King, it wasn't always what he said, Mike. It was how he said it. Exactly. Plenty of people have been saying a lot of the things that he said before. It's the way that he formulated it and put it together. He formulated it and put it together in a way that literally made millions follow. And so, not expecting anybody to be Dr. King, but something to be learned.
But your approach can be...
Your approach, Mike, your approach speaks volumes.
And you can get your point across.
Like, Mike, you can become, like you said, you can become the most powerful person in the world with the power of your words. Yeah. Without even holding office.
Exactly. And on that note, I think we're going to say peace out to this episode, man. We may not be coming on Wednesday. I know you say you got a lot to do. I think the next time y'all see us might be Friday. And I'm working on this I'm working on this mock versus with Rap Roundtable, so hopefully we'll be able to present that to you guys on Friday. And man, yeah, we really appreciate all the love, man. Thanks to all the 50, not 50,000, we're gonna get to 50,000, 5,000 plus subscribers, man. And we're gonna keep this content coming for y'all, man. What you got to say, Coop, before we get out?
If we do Wednesday, it's probably just going to be later in the evening. So that depends on what you're looking like at night. I just know I'm probably not going to get here to the evening. I got a lot of things I got to take care of.
Well, I want to get this yearbook finished for the fans too. So, we want to get y'all an actual date on that. So we might skip out on Wednesday just to get all that stuff done and get everything to the printing press and get that, to the fans. Because, we don't want to get too deep in 2022 and not have a 2021 yearbook for you guys. So.
No, we need to get that done. I'm almost done on mine. Almost.
Okay. Perfect, man. But yeah, we'll keep y'all updated. And if we just feel like pulling up, we'll definitely give people a heads up beforehand.
Subscribe to the page. Appreciate all the love. Thank y'all for all the support.
Yes. Subscribe to According to Hip Hop. Hit the bell icon so you know when we're live. But yes, According to Hip Hop on YouTube. And yeah, go onto our Instagram page too and, follow that as well. You never know what Instagram person is what Instagram account is gonna start arguing with you. Who knows?
Thanks for all the love, guys. We appreciate it.
All right.